Greetings, students, and happy week number 5 of human development. I hope it's going well for you. We are at the halfway mark for our summer session, which is only 8 weeks long. So I'm going to incorporate maybe something this week to touch base with you and see how things are going. So when module number 5 opens up, what do we have on there? We will have a new study guide for our following chapters for exam number 3. Last week, again, you should have had exam number 2, and I did return paper number 1 to everyone. And when I have, 80 plus papers to grade, it does take me at least a week to get all of those done. So just as a heads up, typically I'm pretty fast in my turnaround time for grading, but papers, I actually read each student's paper, and, I try to relate or make some comments that have based on what I'm seeing or from your writing. And so I did either make comments on the paper itself, or if you submitted it in Pages or another format, I might have made comments in the actual comment box with your grade. So again, feel free to email me if you have any questions about paper number 1, but this really was a matter of following directions, right? Formatting, follow the directions, content, follow directions on what should be in the content, and then you earned your points for that paper because each paper was specific and individual to you. But thank you for sharing. I always enjoy reading about you and learning a little bit more about you and seeing how some of you are already making some connections on some of the things we've talked about in childhood and relating that to your childhood. So good job there. So that was last week. So this week, I do have up this week an example of paper number 3. So again, that's looking ahead, looking at the funeral paper, but there is an example of a student that did a great job on that paper. Again, this is a paper that will be individual because it's specific to your values and what you would like to see happen, but it gives you, the paper will give you an idea. Make sure to read the instructions on what should be covered in the different topics or areas to be covered. So this week, again, we'll have a new study guide. We will be jumping into adolescence and emerging adulthood next week. So this is kind of a fun time. So this week we'll cover, I think, chapters 14, 15, 16, or 13, 14, 15? 14, 15, 16. So we'll have our new study guide covering 3 different chapters. We will have a really exciting case study this week. One of my favorite case studies. And actually what I'll be doing is I'll be reading it with you. So when you go to look at the case study, you'll see that I'm actually reading the case study to you because I think it's very powerful. And I want to make some comments about it before you get into your group discussion. Previous group discussions are getting better. They're pretty good. I love it when I see students say things like, I respect your opinion, but I disagree. And this is why. That's collegial conversation, right? So we can have disagreement with each other without being disrespectful. And that's what we want. In higher education in particular, I like it when someone disagrees with me, right? Because I want to hear a different perspective. Doesn't mean that they will possibly convert me to their view, but I certainly want to hear it. And sometimes I am converted, right? So definitely loving some of the, some groups are a little more active than others, but try to really speak your voice on what you feel and how you feel about it, even if you think that goes against the grain of what others will think and feel, right? In my face-to-face class, I always have students ask me, so what would you do? If you were the governor, would you grant Doris drug dealer clemency? And I never give my opinions because I don't want to influence you. As students, I don't want to influence you because my whether or not I would grant clemency is based on my value system. And our value systems are personal to each other. But I think that when we have some good conversation, we can hear other values that maybe we hadn't thought of, right? And so that's really the goal of these case studies and the goal of us trying to have some online interaction since we're not in a face-to-face class. So again, we will have a really, really good case study this week. You'll also have your reflection for the end of the week, and then paper number 2 is due this week. So paper number 2 is your 5-year goal plan. And so remember to follow the guidelines, right? So there should be 5 sections or headers in this paper. Again, there's already an example paper posted for you. So, and under each header in bullet format, you should have a minimum of 20 goals. You can have more than that, but a minimum of 20. And you can break up those goals in any way you'd like, right? So you can have 2 goals under one header and 5 goals under a different header. It's up to you because it's very personal. Along with those 20 bullet point goals, you need to have some narrative or some paragraphs, right? And so you're going to cover a couple things. You're going to cover, what are my long-term goals, right? Do you want to travel? Do you want to have a large family, any family, right? Do you, what is it that you see yourself doing, 40 years from now? And then you're going to talk about plan B. So plan A, for whatever reason, I know we would like to think that all of us are going to be on track and this is the way it's going to work out, but life doesn't always work out that way. And so I want you to think of a plan B. Never in my wildest dreams would I have believed that, number one, I earned a doctorate and that I was a professor, right? I just never would have seen myself in that position because as an adolescent, I was incredibly shy, right? Hated public speaking. Now I teach in the forum classrooms, right? So I teach in front of hundreds of students and it doesn't bother me because I'm so passionate about what I teach, right? I actually love what I do. I'm very fortunate. And so sometimes we don't see ourselves down the road. And I want you to think about a plan B. Some of you are already on plan B. Well, then you're going to talk about plan C, right? So if you say, this was my first career choice, now I'm switching careers, that's great. But what if you needed to do that again? And so I want you to be thinking of the future. So this, again, is a very personal paper, but it does have to have some specific components in the paper. Shoot me out any questions. Feel free to email me. I'm not getting a lot of emails from students, emails pertaining to the content that we're learning. Maybe I get an email about a particular grade on something, but if you're thinking, well, this is a goal, I wonder if it's specific enough, you can send it to me and I will be happy to give you some feedback on it. Remember, that's the number one downfall that students have for this paper is that their goals are too general and they're not specific. The instructions say for each goal, you should be answering how and when. So again, for each goal, answer how and when. So if you say something like, I will be a better girlfriend to my partner, great, but you didn't tell me how and when that's happening, right? So you will say something like, starting August 1st, I will read one couple's book every month to improve our relationship, or starting August 1st, I will make sure that we implement date night every other Friday night, and we rotate where we go based on the partner's, desire for that evening. Whatever it is, however you would like to enhance your relationship, you need to tell me, when is that going to start and how specifically is it going to start? It's great to want to improve your relationship, but without a concrete plan, it typically won't happen. So again, paper number 2 is due this week. And again, as you can see, your papers are worth the same amount of points as our exams are. So hopefully you're getting the gist of how the exams work in their multiple choice true false format. You should also kind of be getting that papers are important too. Right, so again, since we're at the halfway mark, a couple things to think about would be, number one, extra credit. So extra credit, I advise for all students, whether or not you have missed any assignments or plan to miss any assignments, because it's just always kind of nice to have that security. So, and they're really, really fun, right? So I challenge you to read the instructions for the extra credit. One is a movie paper, and there's some really great movies there, right? And it's a short 1.5 paper to make some connections there and talk about your feelings or your processing of the movie. Don't tell me what happened in the movie, because I've seen them all and I know what happened. So I don't want you to spend 1.5 pages reiterating what happened in the movie. I want you to go a step further, which is what we call higher education, critical thinking. I want you to go a step further, not tell me about the movie, but tell me your reactions to the movie. Tell me what we've talked about or what our book talks about that you saw in the movie or didn't see in the movie, or something maybe that was different from your childhood or your upbringing. And then the other extra credit opportunities are these kind of life applications, and they're really fun also. So again, you can, some of them have to do with health and weight. Others have to do about interviewing parents on their parenting style. Do they believe in physical punishment? Do they believe in spanking? Interviewing teen moms, right? A friend of yours that had a baby at 17. What was that like? Because that's very different than having a child in your, in your 20s or in the other later years. So they're really interesting. So I hope you'll take a look at those and maybe think about submitting at least one of them in the near future. Again, if you've already missed an exam or a paper or anything of that nature, you definitely want to get that in as soon as possible. Okay, so that's extra credit. Another thing that's different for this week is, since we're at the halfway mark, and I am trying as much as I can to make this class interactive or as engaging as possible. I'm going to try something new this week, and that's going to be a conference. So what I've done this before at UOP when I used Canvas to teach graduate students, but I'm going to try that here in this class. And what it is basically I'm going to shout out to you or send you an announcement saying that maybe on Thursday of this week or Friday of this week or someday this week from 11:30 to 12:30 or noon to 1, we're going to have a conference, which means that I will be online live. Just like you're seeing my video right now, you'll be able to see me online, and I will be live, and I'm there to answer any questions that you might have or engage in any discussion. Or if you say, I'm just really not getting this sociocultural theory, I can explain that a little bit deeper for you. So it's kind of your free time to ask me any questions that you will, or again, ask a question about paper 2 or paper 3 or any of the assignments. I'm there for you. And so it's going to be a format where you'll be able to type in your question or maybe even use your audio to ask the question. I was thinking of doing it around noon, just because some of you who work maybe a typical 8 to 5 schedule might have lunch break and might be able to join us. I know that many of you, though, work differing schedules, right? Some of you work graveyard, swing shift, and you might be sleeping at that time. So I apologize that it's not going to work for everyone, but I'm trying to come up with alternative methods or means to connect with you. I'm more than happy to do it in the evening at 8:00 p.m. if that works for the majority of students. And if you want to shout out to me again, letting me know if the evening is better or lunchtime is better, I'm happy to take that into consideration. But look out for an announcement coming out this week that we will have a conference, and again, your chance and opportunity to connect with me, ask any questions as if you were in a live class with me. So that's it for week 5. Looking forward to learning about adolescence. Those teen years are challenging, right? And again, please communicate. If you have any questions, hit me via email or in our discussion student lounge. Have a great week, guys.